They scoffed at the old man and the GI, unaware he was a master. Comment below and tell us which state you're watching from. It all unfolded on a Monday afternoon at the Cedar Creek Dojo, a traditional martial arts school nestled in the heart of Maplewood, Ohio. A group of young students, brimming with the confidence of their recent belt promotions, were practicing techniques amidst laughter and playful jabs. Among them, Jake the Hurricane Miller, a talented but undeniably arrogant 19-year-old, led the pack. The dojo door creaked open slowly, and an elderly man with a long, white beard and an imposing presence stepped silently across the threshold. He wore a well-worn GI and a black belt whose frayed end spoke volumes of years of dedicated practice. Despite his dignified entry, the students couldn't help but exchange sneering glances. "Look at this old-timer," one of them mumbled under his breath, convinced no one else could hear. Suppressed chuckles rippled through the room. The elder, his expression unchanged, approached Sensei David Thorne, the dojo's head instructor, and with a calm voice said, "I've come to observe the class." Sensei Thorne, visibly uncomfortable, nodded his permission. Despite his age, the visitor exuded an authority that unsettled the younger students. Jake, eager to impress his peers, decided to test the newcomer. With an ironic smirk gracing his handsome face, he declared loudly, "I bet he'd faint with one touch," as the group erupted in guffaws. The old man stared back, not a word, not a flicker of emotion. His silence was as unsettling as a shout. Jake, wanting to further entertain his friends, threw a gentle, mock punch toward the old man's chest, intending no harm. Yet, what followed was not laughter, but a profound silence. His fist stopped inches from the GI's lapel, as if an invisible barrier had halted it. "You shouldn't touch what you don't understand," the elder finally said, his deep voice resonating through the dojo. Jake recoiled slightly, confused by what he had felt. It wasn't pain. It was something else, a respect he didn't know how to handle. The other students, still giggling, didn't grasp why Jake had fallen silent, almost paralyzed. The old man then turned to Sensei Thorne and asked, "When did you forget to teach respect here?" The tension escalated. The students began to murmur, some thinking it was all part of an act, while others felt an inexplicable unease. One of the young men, trying to break the awkwardness, yelled from the back, "What do you know about karate, old man? Did you fight in the 90s? Or just watch movies?" The question hung in the air like a slap. The elder didn't respond. He simply walked to the center of the mat, and with slow, ceremonial movements, removed the top of his GI, revealing scars that spoke more than any belt or medal. At that moment, the atmosphere shifted. Sensei Thorne, who had remained on the sidelines, stepped forward and whispered, his voice trembling. He was a direct disciple of Master Kenjiro Tanaka in Kyoto, Japan, one of the few who mastered the White Tiger Ka. The students were stunned. Jake swallowed hard, unsure whether to apologize or continue his act. But it was too late. The old man had heard everything, and worse, had felt everything. If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on what you think, because what happened next left the entire dojo in absolute silence. The old man requested one thing: a demonstration match. Not to humiliate, but to teach. Sensei Thorne, with a resigned sigh, agreed. Jake was then nudged forward by his companions, as if it were just another joke. But in the old man's eyes, there was no longer patience. Just before the match began, as Jake raised his fists with trembling arrogance, the elder said with a cutting calmness, "I'm not here to fight you. I'm here because someone needs to teach you what your master has forgotten." The silence was absolute. Sensei Thorne lowered his gaze, and Jake, for the first time in a long time, truly felt fear. Jake couldn't move. The old man's words had been a brutal mirror, revealing something he didn't even know he was avoiding: the fear of not being good enough. Around him, his peers expected a spectacle, a fight to entertain them, a test of strength. But what happened next left them completely bewildered. The old man advanced slowly towards him, without a combat stance, without a guard, without threats. "I didn't come to humiliate you, but you tried to humiliate me," he said with a firm voice. Then, Sensei Thorn intervened, but not to stop the moment, but to say something that chilled everyone's blood. You provoked him. Now learn. And he stepped aside. The fight began without shouts, without violence. It was an instant of calculated, precise, almost invisible movements. Jake launched his first attack, a direct punch that the old man deflected with barely a flick of his wrist. Then came a kick that never found its target, intercepted with a single leg on the ground. The old man didn't counterattack. He only corrected with his body each aggressive attempt, as if it were part of a lesson. But each of Jake's failures, each frustrated movement, wore down not only his body but his pride. His companions stopped laughing. The humiliation was no longer the old man's. It was theirs, and he knew it. Jake's face began to transform from mockery to desperation. "Why won't you hit me?" Jake cried, almost on the verge of tears, as he fell to the ground after a final failed attempt. The old man stood motionless, breathing calmly. "Because I don't want to destroy you. I want you to awaken," he responded. The silence grew even heavier. No one dared to move. Sensei Thorn watched with a mixture of shame and respect. At that moment, the dojo door opened again. An older woman entered with slow steps and eyes full of history. "I found him," she said to Sensei Thorn. "He was the one you sought when you wanted to restore the dojo's lineage, but you never wanted him because of the color of his skin." That sentence changed everything. The students looked at the old man with new eyes, as if only now understanding the magnitude of the injustice he carried. Sensei Thorn lowered his gaze and said nothing. It was Jake who broke the silence, his voice cracking. "Why did you come back if they didn't want you here?" The old man looked at him and replied, "Because despite the contempt, you have the right to learn the true way, and someone had to correct what went wrong years ago." That was the first crack in the wall of arrogance. Jake, for the first time, bowed before him. The students, one by one, began to do the same in silence. It wasn't a forced act. It was a sign of respect. The old man didn't smile, but for a moment his gaze softened. He walked to Sensei Thorn and handed him a small notebook. "Here are the lost katas that Master Tanaka taught me. I didn't come for revenge. I came to return what was denied to you." Sensei Thorn received it with trembling hands. Then he bowed deeply, as he hadn't done in years. "Forgive us for what we did to you." From that day, the dojo changed. The old man was invited to be an honorary guide of the school, not out of pity, but out of merit. Jake became his most constant, most disciplined student. It took months to regain his pride, but he did so from humility. Even the parents of the students began to attend classes, drawn by the new energy that permeated the air, a blend of respect, history, and justice. The old man never sought recognition, but unintentionally, he became a living legend. Those who had mocked him now honored him. The community began inviting him to give talks at other dojos, where he spoke not only of martial arts, but of resilience, dignity, and perseverance. Some local media tried to interview him, but he only spoke one sentence: "I didn't come for fame. I came to remind you that respect is taught by example." That phrase was etched at the dojo's entrance. Since then, every new student read it before their first class. And though his white hair and slow walk betrayed the years, his spirit remained as firm as his first day on that mat. Those who once looked at him with disdain now opened the door for him and offered him tea, because they understood that wisdom doesn't always enter shouting. Sometimes it enters in silence, waiting for someone to dare to listen. And when you finally do, you don't just learn to fight, you learn to live.